President Trump just sat with Politico for a 45-minute interview. Why does he do that? Why did he talk to these people? Actually, we have an idea why he may have done it, and it was good stuff. Wide-ranging. I want to give you the highlights of that interview and sort of give you a mindset of where the president is now 11 months after he won the election heading into the next year. That's coming up in just a second. Plus, an extraordinary day on the Supreme Court yesterday. Two things confirmed, and that is the permanent political class, the deep state, the independent commissions that Democrats and establishment permanent political types in D.C. don't want to have any oversight or have any kind of democratic control over. It's about to come to an end. We learned that yesterday, and I'll show you why, and it'll explain how insidious the deep state has become in this town. The other thing we learned, in case we were wondering, yes, it is 100% true. Ketanji Brown Jackson is an idiot. We'll lay both of those things out. And speaking of idiots, all of our prayers came true. Jasmine Crockett is running for the Senate. All that and a whole lot more coming up right now. My name's Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry. Subscribe to this show, if you don't mind, whatever platform you're sitting on. And I'm trying to do an end of the year push, an initiative to boost our rankings at Apple Podcast and Spotify Podcast. So if you could swing over there and subscribe to the audio only podcast. It's actually quite entertaining to listen to me without seeing me, because as it's been said before about Larry O'Connor, he has a face for radio. So go ahead and swing on over to the audio podcast. It's a huge initiative right now. We're trying to boost the rankings there and get that podcast ranked higher than some of the Looney Tunes Bulwark podcasts. So if you could, give us a subscribe over there. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I hate microplastics, and so should you, especially when you find them in your body. They don't belong there. Scientists estimate we now consume a credit card's worth of plastic every single week through our food, water, air we breathe. One study found plastic particles in 100% of human lung samples that it studied. Nobody is safe from exposure. Excuse me a second. I got a plastic particle in my throat. Much better. It gets worse. These plastics don't just sit in your body. They cross the gut lining. They leach into your blood. They disrupt everything. They've been shown to alter gut bacteria, suppress your immune response, and increase your risk of neurodegenerative disease, metabolic disorders, and cancers. Even if you eat clean and avoid packaged foods, you're still being exposed. Clearly, I'm having some health issues right now during this discussion. Here's the good thing. Your gut can help you fight back. Kimchi 1 from Brightcore Nutrition is a potent ally in this toxic world. It's packed with over 900 probiotic strains that are unique to kimchi and proven to break down BPA, helping you detox from the inside out. It doesn't just support digestion. It helps protect your cells, your brain, your hormones, and your future. Your body was never designed to handle plastic, but your gut was designed to protect you. You just have to give it the right tools, and that would be Kimchi 1. Right now, you can get 25% off with code Larry at mybrightcore.com/Larry. And for an even better deal, do what my ex-wife did. Call my friends at Brightcore. She really did. She said, I used to be married to Larry. Give me a deal. And she got up to 50% off and free shipping. That number is 888-462-4779. Do that today. Ex-wife not included. President Donald Trump sat with Dasha Burns with her straight blonde hair over there at the Politico podcast, and a lot was discovered. A lot was revealed. It was one of those things where President Trump just sort of says what's on his mind, and we like those interviews. It's revealing to where he is right now, what his perspective is after 1 year in office, and what he plans to do next year and the several years beyond as your president of the United States. Why did he sit with Politico? Well, I'll reveal that in a second. But first, take a look at this.
Can you rule out an American ground invasion?
I don't want to rule in or out. I don't talk about it. Why would I talk to you, an extremely unfriendly publication, if you want to call it Politico, that got $8 million from Obama to keep it afloat? Why would I do that? Why would I talk about that to Politico? I mean, I'm doing this because you picked me as a man
Well,
for
I'm
Europe, and I
asking
thought it was,
for,
I thought it was
for
appropriate thing to
transparency
do.
for their American people, because a lot of folks are,
Transparency.
well, people are
I'll tell you,
wondering
I am
what
the
is,
most transparent politician maybe in the world.
a lot of
okay?
folks are wondering what our goals are in
Sure, but I
Venezuela.
don't want to talk to you about military strategy.
I do love that they keep asking these questions. He always gives the same answer, by the way. Why would I tell you that? Why are you asking me about military? Would there be a ground invasion? Why would I even say that? And by the way, what's the point? There have been other presidents in the past who have said, yeah, no boots on the ground. And the next thing, we're getting a whole lot of boots, muddy and even bloody. So it's all crap anyway. But they try to corner Trump, and luckily Trump pushes back. But I think you heard what happened there when he says, why would I even talk to you? Why would I sit with a publication that's been so rude and dishonest to me, got propped up by Barack Obama for $8 million and all this stuff? Here's why. And this is hilarious. They gave him an award. They gave Trump an award. Politico called up and said, we have an award that we want to give the president. We'd like to come over. We'd like to bring it. Oh, and by the way, we'd like to have him sit for Natasha Burns's conversation podcast. And the Trump people are like, fine, we'll take the award. We'll sit. But let me just tell you that I think it's hilarious. It's frankly freaking hilarious that they did that they like groveled and said, here, we'll give you an award. Look, it's shiny, it's gold. Look over here, because they think so little of him that they think that's all it takes. But can I just tell you something? Can you imagine if Fox News gave Trump an award and then they got an exclusive one-on-one interview with him? If Newsmax had done that, if Town Hall did that, if the platform that this show is produced by did that, and we said, we want to give President Trump an award. By the way, Larry O'Connor would like a one-on-one 45-minute interview, and they got it. They would be lambasting us. They would be mocking us. They would be making fun of us. They would say, that's not real journalism. That's outrageous. That's ridiculous. Where's the First Amendment? This is a crisis. But Politico does it. And, ooh, great get, Dasha. By the way, I'd like to announce right now to the White House communications team that we would like to award President Trump with this spanking new, brand new award for, it's a pipe tobacco award. And no, he doesn't smoke tobacco, does he? Oh, here we go. We'd like to give him this commemorative United States Marine Corps 250th birthday award. I know it looks like the medal they give you for finishing the Marine Corps Marathon, but no, this is a Presidential Marine Corps Medal of Freedom and Might. And we would like to present this to President Trump. Thank you very much for your attention to this matter. More things were revealed on this interview, and we're going to plow through it all because it's noteworthy and it's also kind of funny.
Europe I'm friendly with all of them. I mean, I like all of them. I have no real enemy. I've had a couple that I didn't like over the years. I actually like the current crew. I like them a lot. But and I know them very well. I know them really well. Some are friends, some are okay. I know the good leaders. I know the bad leaders. I know the smart ones. I know the stupid ones. You get some real stupid ones too. But they're not doing a good job. Europe is not doing a good job in many ways. They're not doing a good job.
I want to ask
They
you
talk
about
too
that.
much, and they're not producing. We're talking about Ukraine. They talk, but they don't produce. And the war just keeps going on and on. I mean, 4 years now it's been going on, long before I got here.
I love that, by the way, so much when he said, yeah, I like the European leaders. I know them all. Some are good, some are bad, but they talk too much. Are you hearing me, Macron? You talk too much. That's a remarkable statement, actually, an insight. And by the way, the backdrop of all of this is the fact that it appears as though there was a structured deal in place that our diplomats believed would have been amenable to Zelensky and Ukraine to come to the table and actually end the hostilities there. But then, after some interference from the Europeans, including Macron, it appears, and Keir Starmer of Great Britain, urging Zelensky not to take the deal, then Zelensky just made an announcement yesterday, and it was right around the time this was taped. This was taped yesterday. that Zelensky said that he's not interested in giving up any territory at all for the sake of a peace agreement, which basically means Zelensky does not want peace. There will be no peace. And so Trump is frustrated by that. And I think part of it, and all of those European leaders, they're jealous of Trump's attention that he gets. And so they start talking to the media. They badmouth Trump behind his back, which of course gives them press and elevates them with the media, because that's all you got to do to get good press from the media worldwide. And it undermines any efforts that anybody has for any sort of international relations and lasting peace. And I love that Trump is calling him out for it. And then he was pressed by Dasha Burns, speaking on behalf of the liberal American media, pressing him on why he isn't more assertive with Europe in bending the will of Europe. And Trump gives the perfect answer to that as well.
So how involved are you going to get? I mean, could we see you getting involved in European
I want to run the
elections, for
United
example?
States. I don't want to run Europe. I'm involved in Europe very much.
Might you endorse
NATO
candidates?
calls me daddy. I mean, I have a lot to say about it. Look, I raised, the GDP from 2% to 5%. The 2% they weren't paying and the 5% they are paying. And they're paying it because when we send things over, NATO pays for it, and I assume they give it to Ukraine. But Europe is being destroyed.
Europe's being destroyed, but it's not my problem and it's not my business. I'm not interested in running Europe. I'm interested in running America. And when pressed on that, because that's still dumbfounding to the liberal elites from Ivy League colleges in Washington, D.C. social circles, why don't you want to be more assertive with Europe?
But he thinks the changes that you're making and what you laid out in your vision for Europe is what Moscow wants to see.
I have no vision for Europe. All I want to see is a strong Europe. Look, I have a vision for the United States, America first. It's make America great again. I do explain to Europe because I think, I'm supposed to be a very smart person. I have eyes, I have ears, I have knowledge, I have vast knowledge. I see what's happening. I get reports that you will never see. And I think it's horrible what's happening to Europe. I think it's endangering Europe as we know it. Europe could be a whole different place.
Your impact.
And I think the European people should do something about it.
Why does she keep trying to interject there, by the way? If you notice that, there's a couple of times now. And dude, let me just say, I've interviewed Trump, I think 3-4 times while he was president, other times when he was a candidate. And one thing, she's got this whole list of questions on this, ledger of paper that she wants to get to. It's not about your questions and your agenda, dude. Trust me on this. Once he starts going, let him go. That's where the money is. But, she's Dasha Burns with her very natural hair. And then he was just alluding to, as you heard, some problems in Europe that might end up destroying Europe. And guess what the root of those problems are?
Well, Europe is a different place.
What do you mean
and
by
if
that?
it keeps going the way it's going, Europe will not be, in my opinion, many of those countries will not be viable countries any longer. Their immigration policy is a disaster. What they're doing with immigration is a disaster. We had a disaster coming, but I was able to stop it. We have no people coming through our borders now. 0, 7 months. I mean, who would believe 0? We went from millions of people, in some cases, millions of people a month, but millions of people to no people.
That's not what Europe looks like.
The opposite. Yeah. No, Europe, they're coming in from all parts of the world, not just the Middle East. They're coming in from the Congo, tremendous numbers of people coming from the Congo. And even worse, they're coming from prisons of the Congo and many other countries. And for some reason, they want to be politically correct, which actually I think is the opposite of politically correct. But they want to be politically correct, and they don't want to send them back to where they came from. And Europe is, if you take a look at Paris, it's a much different place. I loved Paris. It's a much different place than it was. If you take a look at London, you have a mayor named Khan. He's a horrible mayor. He's an incompetent mayor, but he's a horrible, vicious, disgusting mayor. I think he's done a terrible job. London's a different place. I love London. I love London. And I hate to see it happen. My roots are in Europe, as you know.
Right.
And I hate to see that happen. This is one of the great places in the world. And they're allowing people just to come in and unchecked, unvetted.
Now, that, of course, led to an extended conversation about the current situation here at home with regard to unchecked, unvetted mass migration. Of course, ground zero for that right now is the repercussions of the amnesty program, or excuse me, the asylum program that allowed Minneapolis to turn into little Mogadishu.
I want to see people that contribute. I don't want to see Somalia. I don't want to see a woman that, marries her brother to get in and then becomes a congressman, does nothing but complain. All she does is complain, complain, complain. And yet her country's a mess. It's one of the worst in the world. Let her go back, fix up her own country.
Whoop. We're having a stream issue on this video here. Let me just let me reset that real fast, and then we will bring it back up. Stand by, because I want you to see that whole video. That happens sometimes.
I don't want to see it as a mess.
Right, let's
it's
get right back
one of the worst in the world. Let her go back, fix up her own country. Somalia, yeah, and I was right about it. I started complaining about Somalia long before the scandal. The horrible things they're doing to Minnesota, it's incredible. They have an incompetent governor there too. The Democrats are running some bad ships.
Democrats are running some bad ships. See, this is gold. I love these little nuggets here. But I love that he started out the conversation about the Somali refugees and the asylum seekers in Minneapolis saying, I don't want that. I don't want people. They're not contributing. I don't want some woman who married her brother and got herself into the country to then become a Congress. I love that that's just a throwaway. It's just, you know which one I'm talking about, the one who married her brother. And there's no pushback. Did you notice? It's like, excuse me, sir, who exactly do you mean by that? I mean, it just goes by without comment or without any kind of. That's just beautiful. What do you think it's like when Ilhan Omar hears that? Oh, yeah, the one who married her brother. Damn it. Just move on. Let's not talk about it.
The case is very interesting because that case.
Forgive me. Let me set this up. Then, I'm trying to give you a flow here of the conversation. The issue of the Somali refugees and the string of illegal Somalis who have come here after we were kind enough to grant asylum to those refugees a couple of decades ago, and they keep coming illegally, that leads us to the conversation of birthright citizenship that the United States Supreme Court just announced they will be taking up. So, birthright citizenship.
Case is very interesting because that case was meant for the babies of slaves. And if you look at the dates on the case, it was exactly having to do with the Civil War. That case was not meant for some rich person coming from another country, putting a foot in our country, and all of a sudden their whole family becomes, United States citizens. That case is all about slaves, the babies of slaves. And it was a good reason for doing it. And that's all it was about. And people now are understanding it. It's been explained to them. And I think the court understands it too. That would be a devastating decision if we lose that case.
That court,
because our country cannot afford to house tens of millions of people that came in through birthright citizenship. When that happened, that was meant for the babies of slaves. And if you look at the exact dates that it was passed, it all had to do with the Civil War and the ending of the Civil War. It's that little period of time, and people now are starting to understand.
Yeah, he's right about that. And it's going to be a really interesting argument that we see from the Supreme Court when it happens. All right, that then moved on to a conversation about the boat strikes in Nicaragua against the narco terrorists. Trump has not had a whole lot to say about this kerfuffle over the last week, but he finally did during this interview, and here it is.
Have you watched the video?
Stopping. I watch everything. Yeah, I watch everything. I see a lot of things.
And do you believe that second strike was necessary?
Well, it looked like they were trying to turn back over the boat, but I don't get involved in that. That's up to them. The admiral that did that is a highly respected, as you know, a highly respected man. And we save 25,000 people every time we knock out a boat. On average, they kill 25,000 Americans. So, I don't like doing that, but the drugs coming in through the sea are they're down by 92%. And I'm trying to figure out the 8%. Who are they? Nobody wants to drive boats to America loaded up with drugs anymore.
Well, I do want to ask,
And we're going to hit
because
them on land very soon, too.
have you watched?
That's kind of newsworthy that she stepped on again. But did you hear that at the end? We're going to be hitting them on land very soon, too. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But that escalates things, let's say. If the United States military is going to start striking narco-terrorists within the sovereign borders of another nation, even if it is a failed nation state that has basically declared war on us, but there's a big difference between international waters and strikes against the narco-terrorist boats meaning us harm and actually engaging in strikes in their territory. We'll keep an eye on that. But big news, again, out of the interview. Then the conversation moved to some of the domestic legislative issues that are upon us. First of all, the ongoing demand by Democrats that Obamacare continues to get propped up with subsidies. That deadline is coming, I believe, in 2 weeks. And then more conversations with regard to the budget and fixing health insurance going into the next year.
I want to give the money to the people to buy their own health care. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. The Democrats don't want to do that. They want the insurance companies to continue to make a fortune. The Democrats are owned by the insurance companies. They want the insurance companies to get this trillions of dollars. We spent trillions of dollars goes to the insurance companies. I want that money to go to the people and let the people go out and buy their own health care. It works like magic. But you know who doesn't want it? The Democrats, because they're corrupt people, because they're totally owned and bought by the insurance companies.
All right. Now, that is the first sign we've heard from the Republicans with any specifics about what the alternative to Obamacare is. And it also answers a second question, which is who's going to be leading this effort for Republicans. Republicans, after, nearly 15 years since the original debates around Obamacare, we're now in a position to end this thing, but we have to have an alternative. And Republicans have not had a viable alternative at this point. The best thing that they've come up with is, end the subsidies, dismantle it, allow people to buy insurance across state lines, and, we'll increase your health savings accounts. And health savings accounts are huge. If we had more attention paid to health savings accounts, it would solve a lot of the problems that most people have with health insurance right now, especially younger people who were forced to buy health insurance by Obamacare, spending way more money than they needed for way much more insurance than they ever needed. If they could then instead divert that money into a health savings account and then use the money from the health savings account when they do have an a health need, and then just get overall catastrophic insurance if they get into a car accident or get diagnosed with cancer, that would be huge. That would be powerful. That would save a lot of people. And we're now just hearing the first suggestions of what a Trump care bill might look like, which is get the government out of it and allow free market principles to rule. Well, we've got a lot of reform that needs to be put in place before free market principles can be injected back into the health insurance marketplace, and even more importantly, into the health care marketplace. So you can take your money and go directly to a doctor rather than dealing with an insurance company, and you just buy an insurance company for catastrophic. In other words, let me give you an example. When you drive your car right now, you've got insurance on your car. So if, God forbid, you get into an accident, if you end up smashing up your car, your deductible, once you pay it, then everything else on your car will be paid for, right? But your your car insurance does not pay for your gas or your tune-ups or your oil changes or getting new tires or getting new brake pads or all of the other maintenance aspects or getting a car wash, right? Or filling up your tank. That's the analogy. Right now in health insurance, since Obamacare, you've all been forced to buy a plan that covers filling your tank with gas and getting a car wash and getting a oil change and all those other things. Well, if you've got a car and you don't get into an accident and you come out of pocket with your gas and your oil change and your new tires, that's going to be a hell of a lot cheaper than being forced to buy a plan that covers all of that when all you really need is a plan that will cover you if you get into an accident. We need to get back to a time where health care and health insurance is like that. You've got a catastrophic coverage that will cover major medical problems that you might have. And God forbid, let's hope you never have them. So you're just paying that insurance, but you never use it. And then you go out of pocket for your checkup. You go out of pocket for your cold medicine and your antibiotics. And then the free market will actually drive those costs down. You know how I know that? Because it happens all the time with a free market. All right. Back to the interview. Sorry, I just get excited when I see that we might actually make some headroom here in fixing what Obama and the Democrats broke.
Obamacare was set up for insurance companies to become rich. Okay. That was why they, in my opinion, I think the Democrats did it for that reason. Do you know that insurance company stocks have gone up 16, 17, 1,800% over a short period of time? They've been paid trillions, not billions, trillions of dollars. And what I'm saying is very simple. I don't want to pay them anything. No money for the insurance companies. Sorry, fellas, I know them all. No money for the insurance companies. I want to pay the money directly to the people and let the people get their own health care. But you know who's fighting me in that? The Democrats.
There you go. But of course, there's Dasha interrupting him, arguing with him, and trying to make the case for the Democrats and the insurance company. Okay. And then it wouldn't be an interview with Donald Trump in the month of December 2025 if the issue of Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't come up. The liberals in the media, like Dasha Burns and Leslie Stahl at 60 Minutes and all of the screaming banshees at The View, they all hated Marjorie Taylor Greene, didn't want to talk about her unless they were criticizing her and making fun of her, didn't want to even mutter her name until Marjorie Taylor Greene got into a very public spat with President Trump. And when President Trump said, enough with you, I'm not endorsing you for your primary, Marjorie Taylor Greene dropped out of the race. And now she's doing all this media slamming Trump. So, of course, Dasha Burns wants to get Donald Trump's opinion of Marjorie Taylor Greene. And, well, President Trump delivered.
Watch stupid people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, or some people call her Taylor Greene. Some people call her Taylor Brown, because green sometimes turns to brown, which isn't nice. But I've watched her say that he spends too much time on foreign. Well, by doing that, and first of all, it doesn't take a lot of time. I made one trip. I brought back trillions of dollars on that one trip. I stopped in Japan. I stopped in South Korea. I met with President Xi and ended.
You went to the Middle East. I was on that trip with you.
Went to the Middle East. I brought back $3 trillion from the Middle East. I sold many Boeing airplanes on that trip, like 300. When I go on a trip, I only have one place in mind. It's the United States. So when, people with low IQs like Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's a low IQ person. When she says it's too, but she was a loyal person until I wasn't able to answer her phone calls because I'm just too busy to answer people's phone calls. You can't call me 3 times a day. And it's just, not appropriate when I have, over 200 congressmen, 53 senators, 212 countries. All of these people are calling, and a family. Actually, the family suffers. It's harder for me to call back the family. But when you think of what I've done, remember rare earth and the problem with magnets and all of these things that was going to shut down the whole world. I worked it out with President Xi. We have a good relationship. I worked it out with President Xi.
So
very favorable to the United States.
Does come back to the economy
in
the U.S., right?
You made a statement, though, that I devote too much time to outside of the United States. I've made a fortune for the United States by focusing on things.
And to be clear, that's not my statement. That's just what some of your supporters and some others have said.
Well, then, I can't imagine their supporters, because I've made a fortune and spent very little time. All of my time is spent here. Most of my time is spent here. But when I do go outside, it's only going outside for here. For instance, settling and solving the problem with China, that has a huge effect in the United States. Making deals with Japan, South Korea, Indonesia, all of these countries, you're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars. So I guess I could say, let's not deal with anybody. We wouldn't have much of a country.
Well,
we wouldn't have much of an economy. We make a lot of money with these countries. Now, in the past, these countries all ripped us off. If you go back during Biden, if you go back Obama, they were ripping us off like no country's ever been ripped off. That's why we owe $38 trillion. I mean, we owe it for a reason. But just remember, when we had a problem with China very recently, I was able to work that out. You don't work that out by not talking to people, by not answering with the magnets, with the rare earth. It was a big
and you're
problem.
looking to have an impact here back home.
Well, no impact. We would have been shut down. China would have been shut down. The whole world would have been shut down.
Sir,
so wait a minute. So some people would say, don't focus on anything outside of our border. I like that too. But I've made trillions and trillions of dollars and solved problems and solved wars. Do you know most of the wars that I solved were solved sitting behind the Oval Office desk on a telephone? I think those are worthy phone calls. Even if they didn't impact us to save millions of lives from another country, and if I can do that easily because I have an ability.
All right, and she kept trying to interrupt. That was, frankly, a masterful job there of the president, taking no quarter from the reporter, dominating the conversation, not letting her drive the agenda of the conversation or weasel out of some of the things that he said. It was a great performance by the president and really quite newsworthy, despite Dasha Burns' best efforts to step on our own headlines. So there you go. Good insight into where the president is right now on foreign and domestic issues and his focus on fixing the health insurance issues that we have today. And later tonight, he's going to be giving a speech in Pennsylvania about the economy. I'm sure he'll echo a lot of those items as well, and we look forward to it. Man's not resting. And no, Marjorie Taylor Greene and the other members of Congress and the Senate and the governors and the other countries, sometimes they're going to have to let their calls go unanswered so the president can talk to Barron and find out what he's majoring in next semester up at NYU. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. By the way, Mr. President, we'll hold on to your award here until you're ready to pick it up. We look forward to seeing you. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Hey, guys, if you're looking for a gift, a fantastic gift, an incredible gift this Christmas, I want to tell you about my friends at besthotgrill.com. It's time to select presents for the most important people in your family, also for corporate gifts, for your best clients, for your employees. You want to give them the gift that is fantastic, unforgettable, and I mean it when I say hot. That'd be the Solaire Infrared Grill from besthotgrill.com. Besthotgrill.com. Solaire Infrared Grills heat up to 1,000 degrees in just 3 minutes. I've seen it myself with my own very eyes. They produce juicy, tasty food unmatched by conventional grills. Perfect for today's busy lifestyles. You don't have time to sit around and wait for a grill like for a half an hour to get hot enough to sear your steak. So I tried it out myself. Steaks, chicken, fish, zucchini. I cooked all of that. You can cook bread and pizzas on this grill. It all came out fantastic. Hot and fast. Solaire Infrared Grills are the gift that will be used. And every time your loved ones, your best clients, your valued employees grill on the Solaire Infrared Grill, they're going to think of you. Don't you want to be associated with a nice juicy ribeye? All Solaire Infrared Grills are made in the U.S., made to last. More importantly, Solaire Infrared Grills deliver the wow factor that everybody likes to receive as a gift. Learn more about the amazing Solaire Infrared Grills at besthotgrills.com. besthotgrills.com. Oh, one more thing. besthotgrills.com. Do you ever get frustrated when you vote for a president and then nothing seems to change? Oh, sure, a couple of executive orders here and there, but you seem like you're on a treadmill where it's the same old policies, the same old dysfunction, the same old problems. Nothing ever changes. Then you vote for a guy like Trump, a change agent who promised that he would go in and treat the government like a business and fire people and really set things straight. And then you find out that he is hogtied and prevented from doing so because of the deep state, the permanent political class in Washington who considers themselves an independent fourth branch of government that nobody has any oversight or control over. Well, if you feel that way, there's a reason, because that's exactly what is happening in Washington, D.C. And the perfect example of it was President Trump coming in this term and firing a bunch of people who were on boards of oversight and in control of so-called independent agencies like the Federal Trade Commission. The woman who is at the Federal Trade Commission that got fired, her last name is Slaughter, an unfortunate last name. She decided to sue, and now we have a case called Slaughter v. Trump. And it has to do with this woman's contention that the president can't fire her from an executive branch job. That brought us to the Supreme Court yesterday, where we got all the details about this. We got some insight into how the liberal left and the deep state establishment types in Washington truly view their power superseding the will of the people. And it was affirmed once again that Ketanji Brown Jackson isn't just an idiot, but she is a radical activist idiot. Just watch this moment where she actually brought no king's rhetoric to her questioning of one of the attorneys in this case.
Some issues, some matters, some areas should be handled in this way by nonpartisan experts. That Congress is saying that expertise matters with respect to aspects of the economy and transportation and the various independent agencies that we have. So having a president come in and fire all the scientists and the doctors and the economists and the PhDs and replacing them with loyalists and people who don't know anything is actually not in the best interest of the citizens of the United States. These issues should not be in presidential control. So can you speak to me about the danger of allowing in these various areas the president to actually control the Transportation Board and potentially the Federal Reserve and all these other independent agencies?
All right, there's more to this so-called question, but did you notice, and I say so-called question on purpose, did you notice how the justice was giving a speech there? She was making a statement. She was offering her opinion. And this is the time where the justices traditionally are supposed to be asking questions of the advocates of both sides of this issue. Instead, she was joining the advocate of the issue in delivering her opinion that the experts need to be in charge. You know, listen, if the experts want to be in charge of certain policies in the executive branch, I've got an idea. Let the experts run for office. But built into that statement that then she sort of transmorphed into a question is the built-in underlying problem with people like her and the other elites in Washington, D.C. that don't want to let go of the power they've had for over 100 years here generationally. And that is that they are better than you. They are smarter than you. They should be in charge because they're the credentialed class. They went to the right schools. They got the right degrees. They go to the right parties. They meet the right people. So they're entitled to be in charge and in these positions of power. And you people, all you do is vote. You don't even know who you're voting for. And look who you do vote for. Oh, no. We need these experts to be in place and never be removed to protect the government from you and your lousy choices. That is precisely what's at stake in this argument. And she goes on, and by the way, pay close attention, because when they say, oh, yeah, we need the experts in charge, they'd like to think they're talking about scientists, doctors, the CDC, the FDA, and all that. And by the way, when people are appointed, if the president appoints a moron, he'll pay a political price. These things all work out. It'll be an issue in the next election. Or if these are people that require some kind of confirmation in the Senate, well, during those hearings, if they're morons and they're idiots, the Senate has oversight here on the confirmation process. It's called advising consent. So our founders already thought this stuff through. All right, but let's just be clear here. As you listen to her, this isn't just about medical policy, immunization policy, space policy, the weather, or whatever. She mentions the economy in there is one of the, we've got experts who understand the economy and they should be kept in place. They understand business. So they should be, because, the people who are real experts in business and the economy, they always take a lifetime appointment as a federal employee at some bureaucracy making $80,000 a year. Yeah, that's where the experts in finance, economies, and business go. They don't go cash in by working at a bank or owning a business. No. The real experts, the ones who are the best at that stuff, they always get jobs as bureaucrats. But that's what she thinks. That's what her class of people think. Just listen.
In these particular areas, we would like to have independence. We don't want the president controlling. I guess what I don't understand from your overarching argument is why that determination of Congress, which makes perfect sense given its duty to protect the people of the United States, why that is subjugated to a concern about the president not being able to control everything. I mean, I appreciate there's a conflict between the two, but one would think under our constitutional design, given the history of the monarchy and the concerns that the framers had about a president controlling everything, that in the clash between those two, Congress's view that we should be able to have independence with respect to certain issues should take precedence.
Unbelievable. The monarchy, you hear, no kings, now kings. But understand something, the structure that is in place right now, that these, the permanent political class in DC want to keep in place, is this. These agencies are created by Congress. And they're populated by Congress, and they do it at a time when they've got a friendly in the White House. And those people who get hired in these so-called independent agencies are then locked in. And not only can the executive branch not fire them, according to this, but Congress can't fire them either. And they have power. They determine policy. They determine major aspects of our government and our way of life in this country. And they're untouchable. It's not like they're saying, oh, no, we'll put Congress in charge. And Congress, through committee, can remove people and fire people, and which, of course, is the opposite of what our founders wanted. She's drawing on the founders here, which is remarkable because they hate our founders. They were all old white men slave owners, right? But when they serve their purpose, they love our founders. But the whole purpose here is that the legislative body, through committee, creates these entities, divisions of the government, but it's the executive branch through a singular executive who actually manages it. Because managing it by committee in the legislative branch is a nightmare. Nothing would ever get done. That's why every 4 years we hire a new executive if we don't like the last one. That's all. And if the people were so upset that they were really mad that this executive fired these people from the Federal Trade Commission, then that would be a political issue in the next campaign. And the people would then either reward or punish the current president or his party based on firing that really wonderful person, Ms. Slaughter, at the Federal Trade Commission. That's how it's supposed to operate. But since a very narrowly decided Supreme Court decision about 90 plus years ago, these agencies have all operated independently. And they answer to no one. They certainly don't answer to you. And that's how they want it, because they don't trust you. They don't like you.
I don't understand why it is that the thought that the president gets to control everything can outweigh Congress's clear authority and duty to protect the people in this way.
But Justice Kavanaugh asked, what happens when a president can't effectively carry out his or her agenda because of what a previous administration from an opposing party has done in maybe setting up one of these multi-member agencies or boards, and those members can't be fired by the president?
I want to give you a chance to deal with the hard hypothetical. When both houses of Congress and president are controlled by the same party, them creating a lot of these independent agencies with or extending some of the current independent agencies into these kinds of situations so as to thwart future presidents of the opposite party.
So to rule for the president, they'd have to overturn a 90-year-old precedent, which is basically been on life support, if we're being honest. But the court's going to consider some of these same questions again. Slightly different framework in January when it wades into whether the president can dismiss a Fed governor. The court has indicated that it sees the Fed as a unique institution because it is quasi-private.
All right. So that's the effervescent Shannon Bream reporting there at Fox News. Nobody covers the Supreme Court like she. But let me just say something. I love Kavanaugh. Did you see what Kavanaugh did there? Kavanaugh is like, let's talk about a hypothetical situation here, okay, that I want you to answer to. So, for instance, hypothetically, let's say there's a outgoing president of the United States. Let's call him Brobama, okay? Yeah, President Brobama. And as on his way out, he sets up these agencies, these independent agencies, and loads them all up with loyalists who are his buddy, who are his pals, who love him and love his politics, and they hate the incoming guy. Let's call the incoming guy, I don't know, President Brump. Let's call him Brump, okay? Brobama and Brump. Hypothetical, okay? Hypothetical. So what's stopping that outgoing president from setting up these agencies and loading them with all of these loyalists so when the new president comes in, Brump, he can't get anything done because these people who are untouchable block him and stand in the way, maybe even, anonymously leak stuff that's going on to make him look bad or lie to the media about things to make him look bad, stuff like that. Hypothetically, what would happen then? Hypothetically, I'm just throwing it against the wall. We're just spitballing here. I'm not saying anything like that would happen. I just love that move from Kavanaugh. Good stuff here. And Turley over there at Fox, he had some good commentary and some more from the justices.
Agencies are not accountable to the people. They're not elected, as Congress and the president are, and are exercising massive power over individual liberty and billion-dollar industries, whether it's the FCC or the FTC or whatever.
Thoughts on Kavanaugh's words, Jonathan?
Well, both Kavanaugh and Alito really made short work of those defending this law. They kept on presenting hypotheticals, what they called hard hypotheticals, of where does this take you? Both of them said, well, can you just go ahead and make any cabinet department an independent commission? Can you specify just one commissioner? Can you make their length in office 20 years? All of those questions left the other side floundering. The best that they could say at points was, well, if something like that happens, you could come back and look at it. Well, the justices are looking at it now. And one of the things that should be unnerving is that those justices that normally form an alliance in these cases with the left of the court were not there today. Chief Justice Roberts really stomped on Humphrey's estate and said that it was basically a desiccated or dried up precedent. Justice Barrett said these commissions don't look anything like what existed at the time of some of these earlier cases. So that's not a good omen if you want Humphrey's estate to live to 91.
Yeah, that last point there that he made, this 90-year-old Humphreys decision based on so-called independent agencies and their autonomy from certain levels of oversight from the executive branch that they've been dining out on. Now, what is currently occurring looks nothing like the circumstances 90 years ago. And that's the point. These things grow out of control. Their power grows out of control. Their influence and what they're able to do and the audacious way they go about doing it, thinking that they're untouchable, because that's what happens in any government when people have jobs where they have power, they have control, and they're unaccountable to anyone. And they actually believe, oh, we can't be fired. We don't care who the president is. Our life, our power, our influence, our control transcends the presidential election every 4 years. Imagine the way those people create their little fiefdoms, knowing that they have that kind of control. And that's exactly what's at stake here in this case. All right, let's get to Gorsuch, who was very good here. And this guy, Amit Agarwal, he was the attorney representing Ms. Slaughter, the fired FTC commissioner who brought this case. This is incredible when you hear what this lawyer, last I checked, like the first class you take your first semester of law school is Constitutional Law 101. And now I know if you end up being a Federal Trade Commission attorney or a liability attorney or a criminal attorney. You don't really focus on constitutional law as much as you did when you were a student. But still, there are some basic fundamentals. You know, the beauty of our founding documents, while we're on the brink of celebrating our 250th anniversary here, these founding documents are beautiful. From the Declaration to the Constitution to the Bill of Rights, they're pristine because anyone can read them today and understand them. You don't need to be a lawyer. You don't need a law degree. They all make sense. They were written, by the way, we were a lot more literate back then, and we were a lot better educated back then before we had public schools. In fact, back then it was before we had any kind of regulated school system at all. People were homeschooled. That was typical back then. Everyone was homeschooled, at least until they got to higher education, and everyone understood things better. They understood Greek, they understood Latin. But even if you were a farmer in a rural place and you were relatively uneducated, you could still understand our founding documents. This guy, I don't think he understands our founding documents. And he's got a law degree and he's arguing in front of the Supreme Court. Watch this.
So even some quintessentially executive functions, in your view, are not vested in the President of the United States?
Yeah, I would not say that. I would not put it in this. I would not say that. Yes, I would say they're not.
You have to say yes to that based on what you've just given
They're not
us.
Constitutionally committed to the person of the president and to his sole and exclusive discretion.
Did you hear that? Did you just hear what this lawyer said while arguing in front of the Supreme Court about this issue? Let me remind you of the question from Justice Gorsuch.
So even some quintessentially executive functions, in your view, are not vested in the President of the United States?
And you heard that he eventually said, yeah, actually, constitutionally, these executive powers are not vested in the President of the United States. Executive powers, according to that guy, let me put his face up here because I don't want Gorsuch to get sullied with this. According to that guy, the way he put it, constitutionally, there are executive powers that are not vested in the President of the United States. I wish I was munching on some ramen right now because I'm about to do the meme. Yeah, it says it right there. This would be the first sentence of Article 2 of the Constitution delineating the powers of the executive branch. The first line, the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America, period. No asterisk, no caveat, no footnote. Anything in the federal government that is an executive power is vested in one person, the President of the United States. That's how it was meant to be. That way, things couldn't get out of control. Things couldn't get broken. Things couldn't get, every 4 years, we get a check on it. Every 4 years, we can say, oh yeah, we don't like that. That's why you don't have permanent agencies. But that dude asked point blank. So you're saying there are some executive powers that are not vested in the president?
United States.
Yeah, I would not say that. I would not put it in this. I would not say that. Yes, I would say they're not.
You have to say yes to that based on what you've just given
They're not
us.
constitutionally committed to the person of the president and to his sole and exclusive discretion.
Honestly, I say this all the time. You have to have gotten an advanced degree, like a law degree, from either an Ivy League or liberal arts college in America to be that stupid. And God bless our founders for writing things so clearly and so plainly. It says so right there. It says so right there. I wish I should have brought ramen as a prop.
Just want to explore, just for a brief minute, I hope, your scintilla of conclusive and preclusive power theory. You agree, I assume, the president is vested with all the executive power.
Yes.
You agree that he has a duty to faithfully execute all the laws,
Yes.
civil and criminal.
We agree that the Constitution imposes on the president a duty to faithfully execute the laws.
All
Absolutely.
the laws.
Well,
Is there some laws he doesn't have to? That'd be news to our friends across the street.
the take care clause is a duty, And it is also a power, but the text of the clause does not provide that the president must have at-will presidential.
I didn't ask that.
That's love Gorsuch. I didn't ask that. It goes on, and Gorsuch absolutely slices and dices this guy. I get off on this stuff. I think it's amazing. I think it's phenomenal. I wish the Supreme Court allowed cameras in there. I understand why they don't, because then everybody there would be playing to the camera and grandstanding. So we're just going to have to live with the audio. But damn, that's good stuff. And I implore you, if you have time on your hands, it's not that long, go back and listen to the entire thing. It is a great education. Not only will you learn more about how the Supreme Court functions and about what's at stake here, but you will hear, when you hear from Sotomayor and from Kagan and from Ketanji Brown Jackson and from this lawyer, you'll hear exactly what the left in this country thinks of you as a voter and what they want to accomplish by creating and empowering a fourth branch of government that you have no say over. In fact, speaking of Sotomayor, let's just end with her.
You're asking us to overturn a case that has been around for nearly 100 years, correct?
90 years, I believe.
90 years. What other cases have we overturned that have had a pedigree of 100 years?
Sotomayor against Neff was overruled by Schaefer against Heitner on its 100th birthday.
That was an economic case. What other case?
For example, Erie overruled a Swifty Tyson 96 years later. Those are two examples. There's at least 13
but which other case has fundamentally altered the structure of government? For over 100 years, actually since 1887, we've had multi-member boards, and that's the entire government structure.
The distortion of the structure of government, respectfully, that Humphrey, the philosophy of
aren't you asking us to distort it a different way?
I think we're
neither the king, nor parliament, nor prime ministers, England at the time of the founding, ever had a unqualified removal power. You're asking us to say that at a time, the founding, when the Constitution doesn't speak about this at all, where there was robust debate over this issue among legal scholars at the time, that we ourselves has said repeatedly in Humphreys and other cases, Wiener, even in Myers, that that those cases you mentioned did not establish this absolute power of the president. You're asking us to destroy the structure of government and to take away from Congress its ability to protect its idea that the government is better structured with some agencies that are independent.
I think we're asking the court to return to the dominant line of authority that started in Ex parte Hennen in 1839, when this court said that it's a settled and well understood construction of the Constitution. The president alone can remove executive officials. That was reaffirmed in Parsons, for example, where it described it as settled beyond the power of alteration. Again, in Shurtleff, similar language. Myers says the same thing. Free Enterprise Fund, Collins, Seal of Law, Trump against the United States, and even Humphrey's executor itself paid lip service to this principle. Humphreys described this power as unrestricted and illimitable. And in order to get out of that rule, which the court has recognized in those 9 decisions is going back
You
to
still haven't
1789.
answered my question.
Actually, he answered her question multiple times. It's just a remarkable exchange. Name me one case. He starts listing off cases, and then she gets all pissed off. I didn't mean cases like that. I meant, it's like, okay, I'm taking your rhetorical flourish, but then he doubles down and names a bunch of other cases that did, in fact, alter the way the government went about doing business. And therein lies the verbiage that I want you to pay close attention to. Because Sotomayor and the people on her side of the political spectrum look at this case as an existential threat to how they've been able to retain and maintain power. Remember, I started this segment by saying, do you ever get the feeling that no matter how many times you vote for a new president who promises they're going to make some changes, ultimately, they're all just sort of a little bit different than the last one, but there aren't major fundamental changes that go on here. And there's a reason why you feel that way, because of this permanent political class, the bureaucracy that lives on beyond presidencies, regardless of who you elect. That's not at all what our founders meant. And people like Sotomayor and people on the political left and the establishment class in Washington, D.C., they're trying to protect that because it's their power. Did you hear the language that she used there in describing this case? You're asking us to dismantle the structure of government, and that's not true. With all due respect, you're wrong, Justice Sotomayor. You're either lying or you're just ignorant of the reality of this case because of your own bias and perspective. Because these agencies that were set up by Congress as independent agencies that apparently are to go on forever and infinity without any oversight and without any accountability to we the people, those agencies are not the government. The government is structured and established in our Constitution. And then the legislative branch with the executive branch can create various agencies that work within the confines of our government. But those agencies are not the government in and of themselves. We, the people, are the government, and our representatives in the House, in the Senate, and every 4 years in the executive branch. That's the government, and those structures remain unchanged. What we are asking you to do is dismantle the power of the bureaucracy. And that's the point. The bureaucracy, dear Justice Sotomayor, is not the government. And the fact that you confuse the two, that's the root of the problem. Based on how the arguments went yesterday, by June of next year, that problem, it appears, will have finally been solved. All right, coming up in a moment, we've got the highlights from Jasmine Crockett's Senate announcement yesterday. Our prayers have been answered. We've got Jasmine running for Senate next year. We'll show you all of that. And by the way, if the race is going to look anything like her announcement yesterday, we are in for a treat. We'll get to that in a second. But first, there's a lot of people in Washington, D.C. that should be getting coal in their stocking for Christmas. But Birch Gold thinks as a smart planner, you deserve silver. That's why for every $5,000 you purchase between now and December 22nd, Birch Gold's going to send you an ounce of silver. That's up to 60. Silver is up to 60% this year if you check the markets. See, smart people diversify and have a hedge. We got rate cuts from the Fed. Might get another one this month. That means in 2026, the dollar is going to be worth less. Then if the AI bubble bursts, we could have some economic volatility next year. You want to diversify. Let Birch Gold Group help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. This is an existing IRA that you already have. It's not new money. It's money you've already got. You're just going to put it into gold. And for every $5,000 worth, you're going to get an ounce of silver for your stocking or for your kids. What a great way to teach them about saving smartly. Text my name, Larry, to 989898. Claim your eligibility for this offer. Again, text Larry to 989898 because Birch Gold's free silver with qualifying purchase promotion ends on December 22nd. Text Larry to 989898. Do that today. Well, I just want you to know that every single podcaster, streamer, and talk radio host worth their salt. We've been saying a prayer every morning and every night to the Lord our God, and that is, please, please don't take Jasmine Crockett away from us. You see, Jasmine Crockett's district in Texas has basically been redrawn, and she's either going to be out of a job or she's going to have a really tough job every 2 years running for re-election. You know, she's going to have to raise money, and she's actually going to have to answer to the voters if she's not doing a good job for them. She doesn't have that problem right now in her district. And, well, faced with that reality, she's decided that she's done with that sort of life. She doesn't want to raise money for the House, for a measly little House district. She doesn't want to have to answer to voters. Are you kidding me? Run for re-election and actually have to worry about whether you're going to win the election or not? Pfft, that's for the peasants. Nope. She's running for the U.S. Senate, damn it. And it was glorious yesterday. We take you now to her press conference where, like every serious Senate candidate, she began things with a rap. an original, independently composed, horrible, excruciating, nails on a chalkboard rap.
Let's get into it. Okay. She ain't never scared and she ain't never been. Always willing to go toe to toe against the president. I can't wrap my head around someone who votes Republican. She advocate for feeding kids. They protect folks touching them. Trump invading his own country with our army. What a joke. We remember Pearl Harbor by illegally bombing boats. What y'all thought we wasn't gonna do nothing, buddy? Think again. They only trying to scare out of running because they think she'll win. Listen, thought I told y'all we ain't never scared. Now look who name on the docket. Got 2 words for every racist bigot. Jasmine Crockett. Y'all hear the words. Me, I hope my money goes to side that isn't trying to say affordability is a hope. She stand on business, Austin toes. Texas dope, don't need no more bad built, bleach, blonde, butch bodies moving forward.
I'm all in. Sign me up to take my money. Take my money. I need this. I need this for the next 10 months of my life. First Tuesday in November of next year. It's going to be such a sad day when this is not part of our lives anymore. I hope Kevin has all the thumbnails ready, all of the various AI modified Jasmine Crockett images that we are going to be doing. I'm thinking a daily Crockett here on the show. The dude wrote the rap song, already laid down the track with his lyric on it. His job was to read it and rap along with the lyrics that are already playing on the speaker, and he couldn't even do that. She's getting the nomination, you realize. They're clearing the field for her. Oh, man. And then it was time for Jazzy to come out. She put on the special dead butterfly eyelashes for the occasion. By the way, it's been noted already by political professionals, but if you didn't see it, because you probably don't follow the same people that I follow on social media, I just want to point out that right there, that image you're looking at, for those of you who are watching the video podcast, that is the image of failure. They failed before they even began. You see, the whole point of a teleprompter is to create the illusion that the principal, the candidate, or the politician, or the elected official is delivering their speech without having to look down and without having to raise it. The teleprompters are supposed to be transparent to the proceedings. And a teleprompter glass that one looks at when delivering a speech is on an angle so that the principal can read it at the podium, but you angle the lights in such a way that they are not reflected on the light. Now, sometimes for an outdoor speech, you can't do that because of sunlight and things like that. But this is a controlled environment in a room where the teleprompter glass and the lighting is all under your control. And the most prominent thing on this stage is not the candidate, not the candidate's name on the podium, not even the American flag. I can't take my eyes off the teleprompters. They're not supposed to be the most prominent thing. So already you've got the look of failure. This is basic comms here, people. And she can't even get that right. But here she is, beginning the remarks. And I want you to bear one thing in mind. There's going to be a through line here. There's going to be a theme to Jasmine Crockett's big day yesterday announcing her run for Senate. And that is this. I want you to imagine that you are a citizen of the Republic of Texas and you have an open mind and you're saying, okay, Jasmine Crockett, you want to be my senator? All right, I'm going to watch your big statement here, your introduction to me, where you're going to ask for my vote. So tell me, please, what will your priorities be? What issues are you most passionate about? And how will you represent me? What will you do for me, representing me as a Texan in the United States Senate? Okay, remember, that's the goal here. That's what Jasmine Crockett needs to achieve. They needs to communicate that to you as a Texan, okay? So let's play along, shall we? Go ahead, Jasmine. Take it away.
right now. Many people wonder why I jumped in this race so late, and I just want to be clear that this was never my intention. This was never about me. I never put myself into any of the polls. Listen, my question was, which congressional seat would I be running for? And for Texas 30, I love you, Texas 30. Okay, I'm gonna finish. But the more I saw the poll results, I couldn't ignore the trends, which were clear, both as it relates to the primary as well as the general election. I could have played it safe and continued serving in the United States House of Representatives for as long as my constituents would have me. But I don't choose to do that. Because Texas, this moment we're in now, is life or death.
Okay. So at the beginning of that 1 minute emotional roller coaster we all just went on, she reiterated that this is not about her. And then she went on for the rest of the minute to talk about her polling and her district and what she believes was this moment of life and death that she's been called to respond to. But it's not about her, of course. Just understand that. It's not about her. Oh, and speaking of it's not about her, take a look at the ad that she decided to put out to announce her candidacy. Remember now, it's not about her. And I may say, once you see this ad, you'll realize it's a little bit about her, just a little bit, but it's also about somebody else.
How about this new one they have? Their new star, Crockett. How about her? She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble.
But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person.
I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. Crockett. Oh, man. Oh, man. She's a very low IQ person.
Somebody said the other day, she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding.
Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
Okay, it's not just about her. It's about Trump. Remember, you're that Texan right now. Okay, Jasmine Crockett, you want to be my senator? Tell me what your issues are. Tell me what your priorities are. What are you going to focus on? How will you make life better for me here in Texas? What will you do to represent me in the United States Senate? And the answer is Trump hates me. Trump hates me. And that makes me happy because now I'm going to fight him because he thinks I'm the star of the Democrats. I guess. Is that the message? I mean, I'm told that for the blue sky crowd, the MS Now crowd, you know, the base of the Democrat Party who will be giving her the nomination and giving her a lot of money to run in this race, and it will be about $100 million probably when all is said and done. I'm told that that's an effective ad for them. I'm not them. So I don't know. I can't speak to it. But for me, you want to run for Senate and represent me and tell me, you know, what you're going to do on the job? Don't make it about who's sitting in the White House right now. You can bring that up later, but this is your first day and that's what it's about? Okay. Well, again, remember her words. This is not about her. What did she say? This is not about me. This has never been about me. Okay. So it's not about her. Let's dip back into her speech now. Let's see her spend all of her time talking about you because it's not about her.
Especially in this moment. There are a lot of people that said, you got to stay in the House. We need our voice. We need you there. And I understand. But what we need is for me to have a bigger voice. What we need is not only a voice, but we need to make sure that we are going to stop.
What we need is for me to have a bigger voice. What we need is for me to have a bigger voice. That's impressive. It's inclusive, isn't it? It includes we and me. Oh, by the way, me having a bigger voice, it kind of benefits me, but it's really for you and we. See, raising money for a House district that you're already locked into safely, maybe that's what, a couple million, maybe 5-10 million most. You run for Senate, now you're talking big bucks. And of course, her wardrobe, her security, her book sales, she's going to come out with a book, and the campaign will buy the book and use the book for fundraising. And that's all legal. And she'll get the royalties back from the campaign buying that book. There's a lot of money to be made here. A lot more than when you're just running for one congressional district in Texas. What we need is for me to have a bigger voice. Okay. Oh, and then, of course, believe it or not, at one point during this speech, Jasmine Crockett raised the issue of sexism, racism, and bigotry. I know, it's shocking. You don't believe me, but here, watch.
When people come together. So I'm asking you to tune out those intrusive voices that say she can't win because she's Black, because she's a woman, or because she's a Democrat. If you believe women should be in all spaces, then I ask you to stand with me.
There you go. You see, if you're against Jasmine Crockett, it's because you don't believe that women should be in all spaces. Frankly, personally, I think the best place for Jasmine Crockett is space. I'd much rather her become an astronaut and get launched into the outer version of space. But there you go. Don't believe any of the voices who say that Jasmine Crockett can't win because she's a woman and that she's Black. And of course, the voices who are saying that Jasmine Crockett can't win because she's a woman or she's Black are the voices inside Jasmine Crockett's head. The reason that Jasmine Crockett can't win in Texas is because she's a radical leftist, because she is a bigot. But that's okay. If you criticize her, it's really because of race and sex. By the way, one candidate for the Republican nomination is a man named Wesley Hunt, who is Black, and he's a Republican. I mean, part of me wants him to win the primary just so he can take race off the table, but that's not going to happen, of course, because if you're a Black conservative Republican who likes Donald Trump, you're the whitest of them all. The other two candidates, John Cornyn, the incumbent, and Ken Paxton, the current attorney general. It's going to be an interesting primary. In fact, Wesley Hunt, though, I think has one more week until the filing deadline. He's not officially in that race yet. All right, more from Jasmine Crockett.
Well, I'm done with politics.
Uh-oh.
I'm done with going along to get along, and it gets us nowhere. I'm done watching rural hospitals and public schools close their doors. I'm done watching parents be afraid to send their kids to school or the mall or the movies because Republicans have flooded our streets with guns. I'm done with the senators sitting around doing nothing while Trump takes your hard-earned money, skims your Social Security, slashes Medicare, and gives tax breaks to billionaires. I'm done. I'm done watching the American dream on life support while Trump tries to pull the plug. The gloves have been off, and now I'm jumping into the ring. I'm asking for your support to be the next United States Senator from the greatest state of Texas.
Listen, it's a great speech if she's running in Illinois or New York, maybe New Hampshire, Vermont, Delaware, Maryland. But Texas? Really? I'm sorry. You want to be a senator from Texas? And what was that first issue that you listed there when you went on your diatribe?
Well, I'm done with politics as usual.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done with going along to get along,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets us nowhere.
Uh-huh.
I'm done watching rural hospitals and public schools close their doors. I'm done watching parents be afraid to send their kids to school or the mall or the movies because Republicans have flooded our streets with guns.
Yeah, that's what I thought I heard. She's running for Senate in Texas on an anti-gun, anti-Second Amendment, pro-gun control platform. It's a fascinating strategy, Jazzy. Let's see how that works out for you. By the way, was this last night? Yeah. She had an appearance on CNN, and, well, she just picked up where she left off. giving us gold.
that you will fight for them. How you make voters who previously voted for Trump, particularly given that you have been an outspoken critic and he has inserted himself, just take your campaign video as is. He has inserted himself at every turn when it comes to your commentary. How will you convert those who are supportive of him to voters for you? Yeah, I don't know that we'll necessarily convert all of Trump supporters. That's not our goal. Do you need to? Our goal is to definitely talk to people. No, we don't. We don't need to. Our goal is to make sure that we can engage people that historically have not been talked to, because there's so many people that you will fight for them. How you make voters who previously voted for Trump, particularly given that you have been an outspoken.
Sorry. I understand that math is hard sometimes, but this ain't hard. You're in Texas. It has voted Republican repeatedly for decades, including in the United States Senate. Trump just won that state, I think, by 10 points, maybe 12 points. I think if you want to win statewide, you might need some Trump voters. But you're the genius here, not me. By the way, if you're wondering how Texas got this bad and how their party got this stupid, after running Beto O'Rourke, you'd think they'd say, like, maybe we need a better strategy. Well, I have an example for you, and this is not just isolated in Texas. This is where the Democrats are nationwide. I kept telling you, it's the Democrat Socialist Party now. This is Mamdani, Bernie Sanders, and AOC's party. And anybody who is sort of middle of the road and trying to, forge a different message in a state like Texas that might not want the radicals like Jasmine Crockett as an option, well, take a look at where they are. This guy, Colin Allred, had been a former congressman. He ran against Ted Cruz this last time around. He raised a lot of money, and people thought he did a pretty damn good job. But Cruz is pretty formidable. And it was in the same year that Donald Trump was on the ticket for the presidency. So a lot of people thought, all right, Cornyn, not super popular, seen as an establishment guy, running in a dirty, ugly, messy, divisive primary against MAGA Ken Paxton, who has some other political liabilities that he's bringing to the table. That might tear the Republicans up. And the election cycle is in favor of Democrats right now because it's the first midterm after a presidential election, and a lot of the wind is blowing Democrats' way. Maybe a reasonable, likable candidate like Colin Allred, who just already has a statewide apparatus because he just ran for Senate in 24, knows how to raise the money. Maybe this is his turn. And he had registered to be a candidate. He was in. He was ready to go. But then when Jasmine Crockett announced, he pulled out and said, all right, fine, I'm out of here. What does that tell you? What does that tell you about where the Democrats are right now? We'll let Colin Allred explain it. You tell me what you believe.
I want to ask you about your House race in 1 second, but just staying on the Senate race, because it really could determine the balance of power in the U.S. Senate. Jasmine Crockett is very openly considering running. Is that part of why you decided to not run anymore?
Yeah, of course it is. And I think, listen, Jasmine's a friend of mine, and we've served together, and I've known her since before we were both, in elected office. But it was about the fact that with, 3 strong candidates running, that we would certainly have a runoff. And I felt that was not, in the interest of the folks who had, come up to me, tell me their stories, who would open themselves up. And in many ways, to me, I've always thought about this and try to take my ego, out of how I approach public service. That I'm trying to, I ran for Congress, as you know, Dana, in the district where I was born and raised, against a Republican who'd been there for 22 years. Nobody thought I could win that one. And I ran for Senate to represent the state that's given me a chance to do all the things that I've done, from playing in the NFL, just being a civil rights lawyer to serving in Congress. And so this is a continuation of my attempt to try and put people first, and now continue to serve my community just in a different way.
Yeah, that's all. This is it's better for me to put people first. if I run in this House district again instead of statewide in Texas. And let's face it, if we had a runoff, that wouldn't be fair to all the people that I met and who told me their stories and gave me money and supported me to run for Senate this time around. Knowing that we'd have a runoff, it's not fair to them if I go into a runoff and actually fight to win the thing that they invested in me to win. So I'm just going to pull out. That makes sense. But that's probably exactly what happened here. Or hear me out. Jasmine Crockett and all of the money and power in the Democrat Party behind her strong-armed this guy and told him, get out now before it gets ugly. Because you think it was rough against Ted Cruz? Wait till you run into us. We will destroy you. And you're not going to raise any money because you're not relevant anymore. Politicians like you, not relevant anymore in this Democrat Party. Jasmine Crockett, she's the future. That's what happened. And that's why he gritted his teeth and said, I love Jasmine. We've known each other forever. I wish her nothing but the best. Sure. Okay, Colin. Maybe you'll become a Republican and then get some electoral success in Texas. We might even take you. Maybe. All right, that's a wrap for today's show. Thanks for watching. Oh, we went a little long, I suppose. Got excited with that Supreme Court thing. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Don't forget our initiative. We're trying to boost our rankings and our subscription numbers over at Apple and Spotify. That would be huge for our marketing efforts. So swing on over there, please, and subscribe to our show. You'll find it. It's easy to find. It's called Larry. All right, let's get to your super chats. Stumbleboots with the $2 super chat. You're cool, my friend. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. GBF, Israel to supply U.S. with boots so we can have boots on the ground. Thank you for the £2, GBF. Gaza to supply Indonesia with scientists. Gaza, supply Indonesia with scientists. Sometimes he's so far over my head.
He's cryptic.
GBF, £2 super chat. The experts in charge, biologists and painters. Patty Jenkins. I think he does this on purpose. He likes to see me perplexed. $2. Thank you, Larry, for your wonderful insight. I'm praying for you, too. Thank you, Patty. That's very kind of you. I appreciate it. And go Navy. I dressed down today. I hope you're okay with that. I always ask Kevin if it's okay if I wear this or that. And do you know what Kevin's answer is? Go ahead. Kevin, we can do a little theater here. Kevin, do you think it's okay that I'm wearing this Navy sweatshirt instead of a jacket?
Oh, boy. Yes, sir, Mr. O'Connor. I'm so excited.
You know what? You. That is not what he says. And I don't demand that kind of response. But his response is always the same. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. I couldn't give two shakes. I don't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't care what I look like. It's almost as though my appearance is irrelevant for the success or failure of this show. And I don't know. I'm old-fashioned. But I'm thinking you're sitting there for going on an hour and 27 minutes now, and you got nothing else to look at but this. So maybe how I look is important. I could be wrong. So you tell me in the chat or comments, are you okay if I wear, a hoodie? And especially Army Navy week. Fear the goat. Go Navy. Beat Army. Let me know in the comments. And I'll appreciate that. Thank you very much. And chastise Kevin while you're there, by the way. Kevin, you've been getting way too much, undying love and adulation in our comment section lately. Have you noticed that?
I'm lovable, so it makes sense.
Okay. Keep telling yourself that. And the rest of you, I'm not saying anything specific, but you might want to check out townhall.com for some job listings coming up. We're going to be posting some job opportunities there at townhall.com. Just take a look on the menu. You'll see.
Is that a threat?
Oh, no, I'm not talking about you, Kevin. Come on. I couldn't do anything without you. No, we've got other jobs that are available. Lord knows we have a lot of empty cubicles, don't we? Yes, that was a threat.
Ooh.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Same place. In the meantime, my name's Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry.